The establishing shot. The establishing shot is a very wide shot used at the start of a sequence. It is used to introduce the context in which the action takes place. Aerial shots are usually the perfect pick for these scenes, as they offer an unparalleled view of locations. It can be a wide shot of a house or other building. These shots are usually only a few seconds long and are the first shots shown in projects. It tells the audience that the characters are here, and this is where the action is going to take place. As I mentioned earlier, establishing shots are usually pretty short, but that is in television production and in short filmmaking, where the projects are shorter length and time is of the essence. The shots I've been showing you are in feature-length movies where there's a lot more time, and so the establishing shots tend to be a lot longer. The master shot. A master shot is the principal camera shot that a director or cinematographer use when filming a particular scene. It covers all of the important action in a scene, including the major characters and scenic points of interest. For this reason, master shots are almost always a wide shot, which I'll discuss shortly, or an extreme wide shot, such as the establishing shot I have already discussed. Put simply, a master shot is a film recording of an entire dramatized scene, beginning to end, from a camera angle that keeps all characters in view. A master shot truly needs to show everything in the scene from start to finish and is all-encompassing. Unlike the establishing shot, master shots include characters, for the most part, rather than focusing on locations and scenery. If an establishing shot tells the viewer where the action is going to take place in a particular scene, a master shot tells the viewer who will be performing the action in that scene. The wide shot. A wide shot captures the subject within a wide view of their surroundings. This type of camera shot is commonly used to set the scene. It gives viewers a sense of perspective as they see how the subject relates to their environment. A closer version of the wide shot is known as the full shot. In a full shot, the subject fulfills the frame head to toe. This captures the subject's general appearance while still showing the scenery surrounding them. Next is the medium shot. The medium shot is used to reveal more details on the subject, capturing them from the waist up, as it includes the subject's hands and part of their surroundings. It is the best way to capture actions in detail while maintaining a general view. This is why the medium shot is one of the most popular types of shots. There are two main variants of this shot: the medium long shot and the cowboy shot. The medium long shot sits halfway between a long shot and a medium shot. It frames the subject from the knees up. The cowboy shot, which cuts the frame at mid-thigh, was widely used in Western movies in order to show the gun holsters on cowboys' hips back in the golden days of Hollywood. The medium close-up shot. The medium close-up shot frames the subject from the chest up. It's generally used to capture enough detail on the subject's face while still keeping them within their surroundings. During conversations, the medium close-up shot is used to keep some distance between the characters. Close-up shots. A close-up shot tightly frames the subject's face in order to focus on their emotions. These types of shots are great to connect with an audience, as there are no elements distracting them from the subject's gestures and reactions. Next is the extreme close-up shot. In an extreme close-up shot, a detail of the subject fills the entire frame. It is used to emphasize certain features or actions. The most common use of this shot will capture a character's eyes, mouth, or fingers performing a critical action. The two-shot. A two-shot includes two subjects in the frame. They don't necessarily have to be next to each other, nor given equal treatment. In many examples of a two-shot, one subject is placed in the foreground and the other in the background. This is called an over-the-shoulder shot. If you've ever seen a news report where the anchor is interviewing someone, then you've seen a classic two-shot. The bird's eye view. Bird's eye view is the name given to the type of shot taken from an elevated point. As its own name indicates, it offers a perspective similar to that which birds see when flying. The camera angle is used to magnify the scale and the movement, What used to be limited to a few selected filmmakers shooting from a helicopter or a plane is now available to videographers and shooters of any level thanks to the popularity of drones. You can also achieve this type of shot if you have access to a tall location such as a rooftop where you can shoot down at the street below. After you've decided on the types of shots, you need to decide on the camera angle that you're going to use. Angles may include a high or low level, where a move may be on a handheld camera or on a crane. Here's a number of different camera angles you might shoot. High angles. A high-angle shot is taken pointing the camera down on the subject. As a result, the subject is perceived as vulnerable and powerless. In this type of shot, the camera angle can be anywhere from directly above the subject to just above the subject's line of sight. In other words, just above their eyes. Eye level. The eye level shot is considered the most natural camera angle. Capturing the shot at eye level offers a neutral perception of the subject because it is the way in which we usually see people. We see them from eye level. This camera angle then can help the audience to connect with the subject. Low angle. A low angle shot is taken from below the subject's eye line, pointing upwards. This camera angle makes a subject look powerful and imposing. This angle can create a visual distortion in types of shots closer to the subject, as it is not a common point of view. Because of this, a low angle is commonly used with wider frames, such as medium or medium close-up shots. It's most often used to show the character as a villain or as powerful in some way. The worm's eye view. The worm's eye view camera angle looks at an object or subject from below, generally from the ground. It is commonly used to capture tall elements in the scene, such as trees or skyscrapers, and to put them into perspective. This type of camera shot is mostly taken from the subject's point of view, such as ground level, like a worm, as the name suggests, or close to the ground, such as a child looking up at its parent. Over the shoulder. Just like I mentioned earlier, an over-the-shoulder framing captures the subject from behind another character. Typically, the shot will include a second character's shoulder and part of their head. This camera angle is primarily used during conversations, as it maintains both characters in the scene while focusing on one at a time. I mentioned this earlier in the two-shot section, if you recall. This shot is a specialized version of a two-shot. Point of view. A point of view shot shows what the character is looking at. It is used to highlight specific details or actions, such as being threatened or seeing their reflection in a mirror. This type of shot allows the audience to put themselves in the shoes of the subject. As a result, it strengthens their connection with the subject and with the scene. Dutch angle. A Dutch angle, also known as a Dutch tilt, or a canted angle, or an oblique angle, is a type of camera shot that has a noticeable tilt on the camera's x-axis, or the horizon line. Directors often use a Dutch angle to signal to the viewer that something is wrong or disorienting or out of place with whatever's happening on scene. An oblique angle can skew the audience's perspective so they're in the same mindset as the characters that they're watching on screen. A Dutch angle is a classic cinematic technique to create unease inside the mind of the viewer. Directors have used Dutch angles to create a feeling and to give the viewer a sense that the world is figuratively warped. The next thing to consider are the types of camera moves that you're going to make. Camera moves are actual moves of the camera itself, and these might include a pan. Panning is the action of moving a camera horizontally on a fixed axis. During a pan shot, the camera turns from side to side without changing its position. This type of camera shot is commonly used to follow an action or to allow viewers to get a sense of location in the sequence. The tilt. Tilting is a type of shot in films in which the camera is moved vertically on a fixed base. It is normally used to reveal the identity of new characters or to relate an action with its performer. In some cases, tilt shots are used to offer a general view of the space surrounding the character. Dolly. On a dolly shot, the camera is attached to a wheeled device and smoothly moves towards or away from the subject in a straight line, forward or backwards, often on tracks. The device itself is known as a camera dolly. Dolly shots usually follow a subject as they move around the scene, generally in front of or behind them. You've seen this type of shot when a character is walking down the street and a camera moves along with them. Truck shots are those in which the camera is attached to a device that moves smoothly along a horizontal track. Generally, a truck is considered moving back and forth, side to side. These shots are most commonly used to follow an action or walk the audience around the scene because the camera itself is moving. The result allows viewers to feel as if they are also moving in the scene. Pedestal. A pedestal shot involves moving the camera vertically on a fixed location. With these movements, the sight level of the audience is changed while maintaining a similar vision angle. Because the camera is not static on its axis, new details are slowly revealed to the viewer as the entire frame focus changes. The arc. The arc movement in film, also called a 360-degree shot or a 360 tracking shot, orbits the camera around a subject in an arc pattern, usually in a full 360-degree circle around them. In an arc shot, the subject is usually stagnant while the camera circles them in at least a semicircle pattern, or 180 degrees, a half circle, if not in a full circle. The term arc derives from mathematics, meaning a segment of a complete circumference. This segment in the shot is the orbital path of the camera. Arc shots centralize the audience's attention. As the camera moves around the subject, the audience remains focused on the subject with a constantly changing perspective. The arc camera movement is especially effective at highlighting tension when characters barely move at all. The camera movement makes us feel uneasy and almost dizzy. By ramping up the speed of a 360-degree shot, filmmakers can portray the frantic mindset of a character. Finally, there's the roll. In a roll camera movement, the camera is rotated on its vertical axis. During these types of shots, the camera is pointed at the same subject. As a result, the footage is graded up to 180 degrees, or turned. This movement is commonly used in action scenes or to capture a feeling of sickness and dizziness.